Hello, footy fans. Welcome to Brews and Banter FC. Join us as we break down the festive EPL fixtures with a side of banter and festive brews. I'm Redbeard, joined by my jolly co-host, Targo.
Co-host.
Co-host.
Not sure what you say. Co-horse?
Cohort, we're always getting in trouble.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we've got the lowdown on all the action, so grab your favorite brew, kick back, and let's dive into the festive football madness. This is Brews and Banter FC, and an all-new episode starts right now. All right, man, the festive fixtures. 29 matches in 10 days. Let's review the action, shall we?
Well,
but first. What are you drinking?
Today, I got one of my staples, Belching Beaver Brewing Peanut Butter Milk Stout. This is literally peanut butter in a can. I absolutely love it.
You've had that one before,
yeah.
So you don't need to tell us how it is.
No,
I do have a new beer. It's a Matchless Citra, Strata, and Nelson Hazy IPA.
Interesting. Is there a story behind that name, or is it just fun?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Doesn't say anything about it. But let's try it and see how it is. Pretty good.
Yeah?
I thought it'd be hoppier than what it is, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, that's good.
I'd give it a solid, but it's also not very flavorful if I'm being honest. Like, you don't get a fruity flavor.
Yeah.
Not a strong hoppy flavor. It's just, yeah.
Not a lot of notes of anything.
No. So I'd give it a good 7.5.
Okay. I liked your new background there, buddy.
Yeah,
you can see studio.
You can see some of our Brews and Banter merch there. A little on reaction. Hard to see with the glare, but
BFC.
That's right.
Yeah, you can also get those stickers like these, or the same as the ones that are behind him.
Yep.
On our Redbubble. So make sure you go check those out. Help support the channel. Without further ado, my friend, it's the most wonderful time of the year. 29 matches in 10 days, like you said. So let's review the action.
Well, let's start with the league leaders, shall we? Liverpool.
Shall we? Yeah.
Beat West Ham in the EFL Cup quarterfinal 5-1 at Anfield. Drew against Arsenal 1-1 at Anfield. Beat Burnley 2-0 away. And then won 4-2 to Newcastle at Anfield.
Yeah, man. If you would have told me that they were top of the table come January 1st after being second in the table come Christmas, I probably would have been like, I don't think so. But teams around them dropping points. We're not having games. They win 2 out of 3 and
a draw in there, yeah.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 with a draw. 3 points clear, top of the table. Playing well. I'm interested to see how they fare when Mo Salah goes to the African Cup of Nations.
That will be interesting, and they'll also lose Wataru Endo as well.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. As far as January goes, I know there's a winter break in there of like a week and a half, so they'll luck out on that aspect. But play Arsenal in the FA Cup, and then February 3rd they play Arsenal at the Emirates, as well as 2 games in the middle there. So it should be interesting to see if they can keep their spot at the top of the table.
They're looking pretty good, man.
Yeah. I will say Mo Salah is like single-handedly their entire offense, but as how he played in these matches, he created all but one of the chances at Anfield against Newcastle. He had the goal against Arsenal. Yeah.
And then that Burnley game, they were convincing. They dominated that game.
Yeah.
Burnley never looked like getting into it. Yeah.
Not at all. But yeah, Newcastle gave them a game. They turned it into a rout, and then, controversial dive/penalty at the end, and
Terrible dive, man. Terrible
I
dive
don't.
by
I still don't
Diogo
understand how
Jota.
VAR doesn't overturn that. You look at like 7 different angles, and you see in every single one that Dubravka doesn't actually touch Diogo Jota. So
Oh, I think he definitely clips him. Like, he touches him. For sure. Like, his elbow touches his heel. There's no doubt. There's contact, but it's definitely not enough contact to go down, for one. And then he
not
takes like 2 steps. He
yeah,
he
and then
could have
falls.
kept going.
And
Yeah.
I'll quote Ian Wright on this one. I thought I'd seen it all until I saw someone dive instead of putting the ball into a wide open net
Yeah, it was just one of those, like, what are you doing, Jota? I mean, Mo Salah steps up, scores a PK after missing a PK, but
and changing his boots.
he did change his boots. Yeah, that was a funny thing as well I saw after the game. I'll be honest, I did not even notice that during the game
Yeah, I didn't
when I
either
was
until
watching it.
someone pointed it out afterwards. Goes from yellow to
Yeah,
blue, but I mean, who's watching his shoes? Not me.
me neither. All right, well, let's go from the team that was in first place to a team that is currently fourth, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Drew 1-1 at Anfield, like we said. They lost 2-0 to West Ham at the Emirates, and then lost 2-1 to Fulham at Craven Cottage. So, not a great start. Not a good Christmas, not a good New Year here for Arsenal.
No, no. I mean, the draw against Liverpool, I would say they were probably lucky to get away with just a point. I mean, Zinchenko looks like a liability in the back. Mo Salah took him to the cleaners all match.
Yeah, I think he forgot Mo Salah was left-footed or something,
Yeah,
man.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
he
he
was
was
thinking.
doing.
I don't know either. Their loss at home against West Ham was their first loss at home this season. The first goal was deja vu of the Newcastle goal with the ball being out but not called out.
I'm
But
not upset about that one, if
I'm
I'm
not
being honest
either
with you. It's hard, you
because they
can't
didn't
tell.
they didn't deserve to win that match or get a
But you
point
also
from it.
can't tell.
So
Like, even if there was a camera on the opposite side, you still wouldn't have been able to tell
no,
because
the post
Zinchenko
would be
was
in the
right
way.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And Zinchenko, because he was in the goal line, pretty
there you
much.
go.
But
I mean, it just explains it all when you have 30 shots and you get shut out, and your opponent has 6 and scores 2 goals on you. And then
yeah,
deja vu again
I think
against
I think I
Fulham,
saw
man.
something. They also had the most box entries without scoring a goal or something like
In
that.
the history of the Premier League, yeah,
Yeah, it was like
it was really bad.
75 entries into the opponent's box, and they didn't score a goal. That's crazy.
Yeah, I will give credit to West Ham. I mean, it was a defensive masterclass. They did great. I wouldn't say Arsenal had a clear cut opportunity to score in that match, even though they had 30 shots. And then, yeah, the 2-1 against Fulham, I'll be honest with you, it's the worst I've seen Arsenal play in probably 2 years. It was awful. They barely had any creative threat going forward. Saka's goal was just luck. I mean, Martinelli hits it, Leno parries it, and it hits Saka and goes in the net. He didn't even look like he meant it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's what it's going to take for Arsenal to score, they are not going to be in this title race much longer.
No, and they're conceding goals too. No
Yeah,
clean sheets here for
which
a
they
while.
didn't. They didn't do that earlier in the season. So,
Yeah, their attack has kind of lost that threat. Martinelli looks out of form. Jesus out of form. Saka, if I'm being honest, man, he doesn't look like the kind of player to pull a team up to try to keep going. You know, that looks like Odegaard. Odegaard was definitely trying that in this game, but
yeah, Declan
couldn't do it
Rice
all
as
by
well.
himself.
Saw him and Gabriel get into a couple spats in the Fulham game. So there's got to
Yeah,
be something going on there because there's a lack of communication with them as well. I don't know what it is, but something's happening in Arsenal and it's got to change soon. And if not, then they need some reinforcements in January. Otherwise, they will be. I think they might even, they're 1 point ahead of Tottenham, 6 points ahead of West Ham. They could possibly not even make top 4 if you keep playing like this.
all right. Well, let's move on to a team that's a surprise top 4. That's Aston Villa, man.
Yeah, man, they're in
They
second.
currently in second place. They drew 1-1 to Sheffield United at home. They lost 3-2 to Man United at Old Trafford, which was a stunning game. And then they won 3-2 at home to Burnley.
Yeah, man.
Villa are flying high, man. Like you said, second place. They're 3 points behind Liverpool, who are in first. Really, their only slip up is that draw against Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the
during
loss
this
against
festive.
United after being 2-0 up at halftime, you
Oh
could
yeah,
say that
I
one
guess
got
that game
away,
as well. Yeah,
but
they played fantastic that first half at Old Trafford, man, and then just
they
collapsed.
that second half they just looked tired, worn out. Same thing against Burnley. I mean, Burnley's not very good, so they were able to win, but they just look tired right now. Same as Newcastle. They both just look exhausted. I mean, they're not a deep squad, neither is Newcastle, so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes, and they definitely will be thankful for that extended break in the middle of January. But there's Cinderella story right now, and I love to see it. It's fantastic to watch. I wish it would happen more often, but it doesn't. It's
Yeah, I'm
exciting to
excited
see.
to see where they finish, man. It's gonna be interesting. Top four hopes. I know you called it, but ooh, we'll see. They're looking
It's a
good so
hope at
far.
this point. The longer they go, staying in the top four, obviously, the better chance they have. But we'll see what happens if they can stay healthy and maybe get in a reinforcement or two in January. Then solidify those top four hopes. It's going to be tough. This
I
league is very tight this year.
I wouldn't expect much to happen in January. They spent quite a bit of money in the summer getting Diaby, Pau Torres, working out the loan deal for Zaniolo. So I wouldn't expect much money there for them to spend. But moving on to a club that's hoping to finish top four, Tottenham, man. They beat
Yeah,
Everton 2-1 at home. They lost to Brighton at the Amex, and then they won 3-1 at home to Bournemouth.
yeah, some topsy turvy results for them. I mean, Everton were flying high coming into their game. They beat them 2-1. It was a great game to watch. Everton, kept pushing to the end, and Tottenham just did enough to get it over the line. They looked poor against Brighton. Now, Brighton, looked back to their attacking best in that match, but Spurs were sloppy in defense. Vicario had to bail them out time and time again, but it wasn't enough. And then they beat high flying Bournemouth, man, and convincingly. So I think they're if once they get Madison back, and I mean Van der Ven's probably out for the rest of the season, but we'll see if he
No, he
comes
should.
back.
Van de Ven should be coming back. I thought.
I thought he did something to his knee, but I could be
I'm
wrong.
pretty sure he's coming back in January along with
Okay.
Madison.
Well, then that'll be a huge boost to their top four hopes, especially with the way Arsenal's playing ahead of them. They could jump over them into the top four, but it's encouraging to get these wins under their belt while they're without probably two of their best players.
Yeah, they are going to lose some players though here in January. They're going to lose Heung-min Son, Yves
Basuma,
Bissouma. Yep.
Pape Sarr as well, I believe.
So
I
those are
think
some.
that's it. I think,
That's enough though,
yeah.
man. Losing three players of that
Well,
quality.
especially, yeah, you're starting two defensive midfielders and your best striker. It's going to be quite a miss. Good thing they're getting Madison back because that will help. But we'll see how they perform. It's going to be a wild January into February for all these teams that are missing big players.
Yes, yes, it will be. That was a fun game though to watch. That Brighton
Oh,
Spurs game, man.
yeah,
Two
that
very
was
attacking teams just
back and
going at
forth
it.
all match.
And,
It was
and then I
fantastic.
think I gotta disagree with you that Spurs won convincingly against Bournemouth. Yes, they won 3-1, but that scoreline does not flatter them. Bournemouth had chances in this game, man. That I think Spurs were lucky not to concede even more goals. But either way, they got the win. They sit in fifth place, just 1 point behind Arsenal, like you said. Let's move to the team that won last year, the treble, Manchester City. They won the Club World Cup 4-0 against Fluminense. They won 3-1 at Everton and then won 2-0 at home to Sheffield United. All games they should be winning. Am I right?
I 100% agree. I thought the Everton match would be a bit closer, but Everton did not look like the side that's been playing recently.
They did the first half. They were 1-0 up at halftime. And then in the second half,
Yeah,
Phil Foden, wonder
City,
strike.
yeah.
And then a poor mistake by Pickford. And yeah, they
But I mean,
crumbled.
City looked like a different squad after winning the Club World Cup. I mean, shout out to Julian Alvarez, who's now won everything and the first player to win the Club World Cup and the World Cup. So good for him.
He has
Uh,
won everything.
he has
Football
won everything.
completed.
Yeah,
Check.
football. So I would love for him to take his game to another level. Probably not at City would be preferable. But I mean, yeah, credit to him. He's been fantastic all year, and with Erling Haaland out for all these matches, he stepped up. So did Phil Foden, who's looking like a player reborn, sitting in that Kevin De Bruyne role.
Oh, doesn't he look good in that number 10 position, man?
He does, and now with Kevin De Bruyne in full training, I would say everybody in the Premier League's boots are shaking with the way City are playing right now. They're close to the top. We're getting to that time of year where they are at their best and they're getting healthy at the same time. It's going to be real rough for everybody else.
Yeah, in their next few matches here in January, they got Huddersfield in the FA Cup, but then Newcastle, Burnley, Brentford, Everton. Or
Yeah.
no, just Brentford and Everton are in February. So, I mean, not the toughest fixture. And then they got Copenhagen in the Champions League coming up in February. So,
Yeah, so you'd expect them to win all of those matches. I'm sure they'll play a severely weakened side against Huddersfield, but we'll see how they go. And I hope Copenhagen gives them a match. I do.
I do too, man. They were so fun to watch in the group stage.
They were. It was exciting. So
All right, well,
let's get to their noisy neighbors, shall we?
Okay, the red side of Manchester.
Yeah, Man United, man. Who knows what you're going to get, because they lost 2-0 away to West Ham.
Like a box of chocolates, man.
They won 3-2 against Villa, and we'll get into that match in a second. And then they lost 2-1 away to Forest, where Anthony Elanga just tore them up in his revenge match. Yeah, so West Ham, they looked devoid of confidence. They didn't look very good. Couldn't create nothing. What about that West Ham match, though? Our Aston Villa match.
Oh, what a game, man. Like I said, Villa came out flying that first half. We're putting United to the sword, 2-0 up at halftime. It honestly looked like United were not going to get back into it. They did, though. Garnacho with a couple goals. Højlund gets his first for Manchester United in the Premier League. And you could see what it meant to him, man. The
Oh,
passion,
yes.
the fire. He was excited for that goal.
Yeah,
Not
and
a terrible finish either.
no, definitely not. And Garnacho just seemed to take that match by the horns and just single-handedly put United back into it, because it didn't look like until then that anybody else was going to create anything.
No, it didn't. But that game is kind of, as a whole, I'd say sums up United. Poor first half, good second half. And they're kind of playing like a mid-table team, man. Lose,
Yep.
win, lose. They're probably going to win. Then they'll lose.
I mean, if you look at their squad on paper, not knowing that it was Manchester United, you would probably say, yeah, that is a mid-table squad.
Ouch. Harsh with Casemiro, Varane, even though Casemiro's not playing anyway. But Bruno Fernandes, I saw something for 2023. He created more chances than any other player in the Premier League.
Yep. If you look at his stats alongside that, though, it also took him the most to create one of those chances. So for every, 8 or so chances that he tried to create, he got one of them right. So they're definitely creating chances. It's just, are they quality or not? And he created the most quality chances, but he also had a plethora of other ones where he should have done the same thing.
So I guess, why does that stat matter?
Stats are stats, man. You can pad them in any way you want to make you look great or terrible. That's what stats are for.
Kevin De Bruyne said something similar. Like, why would I want easy passes in the midfield to pad my stats instead of playing a cutting ball that can open up a defense that is obviously harder to play and could get intercepted?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the chances created by Bruno versus the amount of goals scored, it's not many.
It's also not on him, though, if his players can't finish.
No, I will give him that. But, again, stats can be blown out of proportion or don't tell the whole story.
I think you're giving him a little less credit than he deserves, man. That's a fantastic stat to have.
It is.
And
Don't get me wrong.
I'll give him his shout out. Good for you, okay. Bruno.
I won't.
Because I know you won't.
Because honestly, I think when he's on the field, United play worse. So
I disagree with you 100%. He is Manchester United's best player. Disagree? Who is Manchester United's best player, if not Bruno?
I didn't say I disagree. I was going to say none of them are good, but
Well, let's go to a team I know you also won't praise or give support, and that's Newcastle United.
Well, I mean, it's rightfully so. They're not playing well right now.
Oh, they're ninth place. Let's see, they lost 1-0 to Luton, lost 3-1 at home to Nottingham Forest, and lost 4-2 away at Anfield. They lost all their festive fixtures, man. All of them.
Yeah, and I mean, they've lost 4 of their last 5. I think right now they have more losses than they did the entirety of last season, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, keep talking and I can look that up.
I mean, you start with the loss against Luton. I mean, yes, Luton have been playing well at home. Some of the matches they've lost, they should have deserved to win. But to beat Newcastle at home for Luton, what a win for them. And then Newcastle at Forest are playing against Forest at home. There's no way they should lose 3-1 to a team that essentially had lost every game coming up to that point.
New manager bounce, baby. Nuno.
Yeah. But, I mean, their form is worse than most relegation sides right now. And then the match at Anfield, they looked better than they had been, but their defense is just not the same. Even getting Sven Botman back.
Yeah, and he had Kieran Trippier out of that Anfield game.
Yeah.
Livermento was in it. But going back to the losses, you are correct. So last season, Newcastle lost 5 games. This season, they've already lost 9.
Not including the Champions League.
Oh, so. This is just Premier League, yes.
Yeah, pretty sure they lost 4 games before the end of October, or 5 games.
So they are doing much worse.
Yeah, I mean
they've won than last season.
They're scoring goals. I mean, they have scored more goals than Arsenal has, but they're letting in so many more than they did last season, which is you can imagine the amount of 1-0 wins they had last season was crazy.
Yeah. And doesn't help the injuries they've got going on, the suspensions, the bans to Tonali.
All over the place.
Nick Pope's out. Kieran Trippier's been out.
Sven Botman's been out until just now when he came back for the game at Anfield. So
they lost, was it Harvey Barnes? He's been out injured for a while.
Yep.
So I think I saw it at their worst. They had like 15 injuries or something like that.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And I mean, not to quote, somebody else that's on this podcast, but, injuries shouldn't be an excuse.
They shouldn't. Not, especially when you're the richest damn club in the world like Newcastle.
So I fully expect them to sign 2 to 3 players come January.
Again, they might have to struggle with FFP, man. Maybe in a couple, 2-3 years, their revenues will be up a little higher. But
well, let me put it this way. The Premier League did not ban loans from Saudi Arabia inside of ownership groups. So I think that they'll get 2 or 3 players on loan from
Saudi Arabia
that the PIF owns. Yeah.
I got to give a shout out though to Alexander Isak. Even though they didn't win any of these games, he is a class finisher, man.
He has been playing fantastically.
There was a play in that Newcastle Liverpool game where Darwin Nunez got sent 1-on-1. Goalie saves it, kicks it at the goalie, hits his leg. Isak gets put on 1-on-1 against Alisson, finishes at far post.
Yep, slots it in.
What a difference from
if you want to talk about Darwin, yeah, I mean he's
to a hyped up guy, man.
He's got more big chances missed than Nicholas Jackson and Richarlison combined.
That doesn't surprise me. He misses a lot.
Yeah. So
if I'm being honest, he is a glorified bench player. I think Jota should be starting ahead of Darwin Nunez.
The way he's playing right now, yeah. I mean, there's flashes of brilliance in there, but unless you can be the finished article and do it consistently, there's no way. There's no way he should be doing it.
He does not do anything consistently.
Exactly my point.
Put that ponytail up.
And miss wide open chances on goal.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go to a team that a little bit hot, a little bit cold here, this festive fixture. West Ham lost 5-0 to Liverpool in the EFL Cup quarterfinal. They won 2-0 at to Manchester United at home.
Hmm.
Huge win against Arsenal at the Emirates, and then they drew 0-0 against Brighton, which happened today as of this recording.
Yeah, I mean, EFL Cup as much change squad for both sides. Liverpool dominated. Is at Anfield, but beating United at home, they look dominant.
And
United
then
looked
going to beat
terrible and
and then beating
helpless.
and
And
then
then
going to beat Arsenal right
at the
after.
at the Emirates, and it should have been three if not for David Raya saving a penalty on Benrahma. So David Moyes has got them purring right now. They're all the way up to sixth place, 34 points, 5 points off of Tottenham right now, 6 points off of the top four.
I am loving the Jared Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, Lucas Paqueta connection, man.
Yeah, all three of them interchanging up front. It's fantastic to watch. And I mean, we've said it once and we'll say it a million times. United signed the wrong player from Ajax, man. Signing Anthony instead of Mohamed Kudus. The money spent by West Ham to get him looks like chump change right now.
I mean, honestly, the amount of the business that West Ham did in the summer, I think they came out looking one of the best with their
Trumps.
signings. And
Yes.
Kudus, Alvarez, James
Ward
Ward-Prowse.
Prowse.
Oh man, those are three
Mavropanos as
fantastic.
well,
Yeah,
who's been looking
Mavropanos
good for
came.
them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, much needed depth, better attacking options, more sound in midfield. You can't really ask for anything more.
Nope. Hardworking West Ham side doing well in the Premier League.
And
Kind of
in the
like
Europa
kind of
League.
like to see it, don't you? Yes. Don't forget about the Europa League. That's what they're
Yeah.
in, yeah, not the Conference Cup.
Well, they won that last year, so
They
can't
did.
be it.
Well, let's go a team that's in that Conference Cup, I believe. Are they in the Europa League? Brighton.
Europa League, I believe.
All right. Well,
You keep
Brighton.
talking, I'll look it up.
Okay, they drew 1-1 to Palace. They won 4-2 against Spurs, and then they drew 0-0 to West Ham, which we had just mentioned.
Europa League, yes.
Brighton have kind of been all over this season. You never know how they're going to do. They concede just so many goals, man.
But they score. I mean,
They
until the
score.
Arsenal game, they had scored in every match, almost every match in this entire calendar year of 2023, and then start of 2024, not scoring. But
they were
yeah,
also conceding almost in every match. So it was good for them to get a draw, at least keep a clean sheet against West Ham. But they're sitting 7th place, not too bad.
yeah,
You
especially
had them
for how
finishing a little
topsy-turvy they've
higher.
been. How topsy-turvy they've been this season. Being in 7th, I would say, is a win for them right now.
Yeah, they have players coming back too. Stupinian came back, scored a nice goal against Spurs. João Pedro's on fire, scoring goals. Looks like a steal of a signing from Watford.
Yeah. Hinselwood's looking like another star. Matoma's coming back healthy again.
Hinselwood, a youngster I said to keep an eye on.
Set you up for that one, did I?
Yes, you did. If you haven't heard that episode, I think it was our last one, our mid-season awards. Make sure you check that out.
Or
But I
you can
talk
check
about
the
Hinselwood.
segment all by itself on YouTube. Just make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, as well as like the
There
video.
you go. There you go. Spread it out through the multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to a team, man, that we're on a tear, moving up the table, or not even moving, flying up the table.
That's a better word for it.
Bournemouth, man. They won 3-2 away to Forest, won 3-0 at home to Fulham, but they lost their last game 3-1 to Spurs. But before that loss, they had won their previous 4, I would say, in a row, 4 or 5.
I think 4 or 5, yeah. I mean, they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the Premier League right now. They're playing with some confidence. Dominic Solanke is looking like a stud right now. And I don't think I would ever have thought that I would have said those words.
So do you think a bigger team, like obviously we know Chelsea struggling for goals and a striker, Man United are, Arsenal are probably looking for a striker. Do you think any of those teams should go for a Dominic Solanke either in January or this summer?
I mean, we saw what he did at Liverpool, right? Where it didn't quite pan out for him. But I think he's matured enough at this point that depending on what their asking price is for him, because I would say with his form right now, they'd probably get over 50 mil for him. Not that I don't think he's worth that much, but with the form he's in, they could definitely ask for it. And I do think that one of those clubs should at least inquire for his services, if not all of them.
I would be hesitant. Yes, he's having a fantastic season, but it's only been this season I would say he's really ever performed. I mean, he's had a couple seasons at Bournemouth. Like you said, he was at Liverpool, and he could never really get going. Maybe this is his turnaround that he needed to really boost his career, but for me, I think it's just too much of a gamble.
Yeah, more of a flash in a pan than
I kind of
consistent
think
thing.
it's going to be a flash in the pan type of situation where even
Yeah,
if he stays at Bournemouth next season, I don't think you quite get these results.
yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I just think a lot of it has to do with how comfortable he is in his situation where he's playing right now, and then just the way the club as a whole feels right now. Right, they're playing with confidence. He's playing with confidence. They're creating loads of chances for him, and he's putting them away. Does he do that somewhere else? Probably not. But I think at least one team will take a look at him. Maybe not sign him, but they should at least inquire about his services.
Okay. Well, let's move on to a team that has inquired about a lot of player services. Chelsea. They won their EFL Cup quarterfinal at home to Newcastle on PKs after it was tied 1-1. They lost 2-1 away to Wolves, won 2-1 at home to Crystal Palace, and then won 3-2 away to Luton.
Yeah, and it's Luton at home too, and they're flying at home right now.
They are. So Chelsea currently middle of the pack, 10th place.
Yeah, it seems like no matter what they do, whether they win or lose, they just stay 10th. They haven't moved in what seems like 6 months.
They really haven't. No, I mean, Newcastle's in 9th, is 1 point above them, but then Wolves, who are in 11th, are tied on points.
Yeah.
I will say,
we'll get to them in a second.
Nkunku came back and did score a goal, so that was good to see.
Yeah, he has definitely been. He's seems like a difference maker in their attack. At least they're scoring goals now, which is nice to see for them.
Yep.
It's their defense, man. They are scoring goals, yes, but they're allowing them.
It's their midfield, man.
Not on many chances.
Their
either.
Midfield has not been the best.
Well, I mean, it's 200+ million in signings right there, just with the two of them.
They're not playing like 100 million signings in Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. I think they have a gear to go up, and they could turn good. But right now, I'd say Conor Gallagher is their best midfielder.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I know they do have Romeo Lavia still to come back from injury. Once he gets fit, does he? Do you put him in there for Caicedo? Do you take out Enzo? One of the two. It'll be interesting to see what Pochettino does.
However, your three-person midfield look like for Chelsea?
I don't know if I would play three, to be honest with you.
Well, that's how they play. They play a 4-3-3.
Yeah, I think I probably would put Nkunku as more of a number 10, giving him more availability to go forward. And I probably would do Caicedo and Lavia if I had all of them healthy. But Gallagher's a good shout.
You gotta play Gallagher, man. He's their best player right now.
I would probably put Gallagher out on the wing, I'll be honest with you.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes. Well, he's got to start.
You can't put him out. Who are you going to start him out on the wing over?
Not Sterling.
Cole Palmer? No.
I would put Palmer at striker.
I would play Palmer in that number 10 role, if I'm being honest with you.
Right. Nkunku doesn't usually, like, when we've seen him play as a true number 9, he doesn't do quite as well as he does sitting back.
I would have him and Palmer just interchanging.
Okay. Either way.
Honestly, on the wing, I would have either Sterling or Mudryk on the left, whoever you want. But I like the player who's been in form lately for Chelsea, and that's Noni Madueke, man.
He's been tearing it up, man.
I was surprised, at the beginning of the season, I was surprised he wasn't getting that much playing time. Because at the end of last season, I thought he was one of their better players down the wing. running at defenders. He's
Certainly
quick.
the most exciting winger they have.
Yes, and so I was surprised he wasn't getting playing time. He's been getting it now, scoring goals. Scored against Palace, against Luton. So that's who I would be playing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a good headache to have if you're Pochettino going forward. In midfield, different story. I mean, maybe just get rid of the lot of them and pick somebody else and Gallagher to play center.
Well, you can't. I mean, they paid $100 million for these players. They're on 8-year contracts. They have to stick with them. Gallagher's the only one they could sell. And with FFP rules, there's rumors that if a team comes for him, they're willing to let him go for a cool 50 mil.
I mean, the way he's playing right now, he's worth 50 mil.
He is. He is,
especially
for
with
sure.
English tax on him. Yeah, I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if someone comes in and tries to sign him. 50 mil, that's not a lot, especially if you sign him to a 5-year contract.
No,
But he's
no,
not
it's
old,
not.
so it's a good shout.
We'll see. They could use that 50 mil and then turn it and buy a striker.
For 150.
No, so actually, there's a striker out there with a 17.5 million euro release clause.
Yep. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but he's a certain striker from Stuttgart.
He is.
Yeah.
Grassi.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised. Yeah, it's Grassi. Siru Grassi.
I bet
something like that.
I bet probably has the pick of the litter. He probably
I heard
Real
Bayern Munich
Madrid,
after him. Chelsea, Man United.
Man United. I'm sure you probably see a team like West Ham go after him. Tottenham. Like he's
17.5 mil, man. Why the F not?
Yeah. If I'm Stuttgart, I'm like, here's contract. Sign it, please.
Let's go ahead and triple this number.
Triple your wages and triple your release clause there, and we'll call it good. And if anyone comes in and wants to pay that one, we'll sell you. But that's just, yeah. Some of these release clauses, man, where teams, when a player starts to perform and they don't restructure his contract, it makes no sense to me.
I would say with Grassi, I'd be a little afraid also of the Dominic Solanke situation where he's having that flash in the pan season. Because he was at Stuttgart last season on loan. And they decided to keep him.
Yeah.
But obviously we didn't see the numbers he's producing in the Bundesliga as he is.
No.
Last year we didn't see that.
It reminds me a lot of Nicholas Jackson as well. Because he tore it up in
Body
Spain
profile,
last season.
yeah.
Yeah. And then this season, I mean, if he could finish chances, then he probably would be up there near the top goal scorers in the Premier League, but he can't finish well. I mean, he's a better finisher than Darwin Núñez is, but that's about all I can say.
But who's the better player, Nicholas Jackson or Darwin Núñez?
I mean, it's Darwin Núñez, but
yeah, I would agree with you.
That's all-around player.
Yes, best all-around player. We'll have to post that one on a poll.
It's a good shout.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think. Nicholas Jackson or Darwin Núñez? Let us know on our Facebook or YouTube. Make sure to drop a comment, hit that notification bell, all those fun things. But let's move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers. They're currently sitting in 11th after the festive period. They won 2-1 at home to Chelsea. This one was surprising. A 4-1 win away to Brentford. And then won 3-0 at home to Everton. Perfect.
They're on fire,
this
man.
Festive period.
They're on fire right now. Scoring goals for fun. Matthias Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan are lighting it up.
I love Cunha, man.
Mario
I think
Lemina,
he's honestly one of the best dribblers in the Premier League.
Cunha?
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most skillful players as well. He's got everything.
And he doesn't beat you so much with his pace, man. It is just, he jukes you out of your shoes. You don't know which way he's going. He has that football mind. And I love watching him play.
Yeah. I love watching Hwang Hee-chan or that Korean guy play as well because he is just a pure class finisher, man. I wouldn't be surprised if a team tried to sign him.
And good news, Pedro Neto's back for Wolves from his lengthy injury. He came in against Everton, I believe.
Yep.
Got a goal, so I think
still
he got
near the top in assists this season, so look for him to pad those stats.
There you go, man. But yeah, they won 2-1 against Chelsea. Good result for them.
Yep.
I guess they're only they're tied on points now with Chelsea, so that's about at Chelsea's level. Wolves.
Yeah, I would say so. The way they've been playing this season, even though you picked them to get relegated. No, I won't live that down. Let you live that
I
down.
know that was during the whole Luptigi
Yeah,
debacle. They were having huge financial problems.
they look fine now.
They brought in Gary O'Neill. Gary O'Neill, man, he righted that ship, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Keeping him above the team that let him go in Bournemouth.
Which is hard to do right now with the way Bournemouth are playing. So
Exactly. All right, well, let's look at a team that I would say is kind of struggling compared to last season. Last season, they started out real hot, kind of faded, but Fulham
yeah,
lost 2-0 at home to Burnley, lost 3-0 away to Bournemouth, but then come back and win 2-1 at home to Arsenal.
yeah, and all of this is after winning 2 games back to back 5-0. So Fulham, man, I don't know which team's going to show up. I'll be honest with you. They look fantastic at times, and others you're like, what? Why is this team so bad? Especially
Yeah,
against Bournemouth, man. They look terrible.
they looked
Bournemouth.
real bad against Bournemouth, and then
They
I mean
lost to Burnley.
credit to them. They came back strong after that Bournemouth loss and
Took it to Arsenal.
were clinical with their chances.
Yeah, probably should have had more.
All right, let's look at one of the worst teams this festive period. That was Brentford. They lost 4-1 to Wolves and lost 3-1 away to Crystal Palace. They only had the 2 games. They had a game with Man City postponed due to Man City being in the Club World Cup. But what's going on with Brentford, man?
I don't know.
They desperately need Ivan Toney. Is that
I
the
think
case?
so, but even then, I don't know if it's going to help them, man. Like, I think it's one thing, and then it's another part of the field that they struggle at. Sometimes it's their goalkeeping, sometimes it's their defending, sometimes it's their attack can't score, which is crazy to me after Mbomo and Visa last season were like literally the 1-2 punch of the Premier League.
Bomo's also been out injured, though.
Yeah, yeah, that will affect them a lot. I think it's just all over the park right now. They're not playing well. Getting Ivan Toney back will be definitely a confidence boost for them. But how much? Is he going to be completely fit right off the bat? How long is it going to take him to get back into the form we've seen of him? I don't know, and it might by then it might be too late. They could just be in a tailspin.
Yeah, they're tumbling down the table. They're in 16th place with 19 points.
Yeah, 4 points off the drop zone. They've lost 5 in a row. They do not look good going forward. They look terrible in defense.
So what happens with Thomas Frank then? Last year, he was one of the managers to be applauded. There were talks maybe a big team could come for him. Does he keep his job if things keep going this way?
I think if they get relegated, yeah. But I think he'll finish out the season. No problem.
All right, well, let's move on to Crystal Palace. They're also flirting with that relegation zone a bit. They're sitting in 14th on 21 points. And they drew 1-1 at home to Brighton, lost 2-1 away to Chelsea, and then won 3-1 at home to Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, those 4 points probably are the only reason Roy Hodgson has a job right now.
I would say Abrichieze and Michael Elise coming back into the team.
That as well.
Reason
Yeah.
why Roy Hodgson has a job right now. He looks like the next one if things start going the wrong way for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I mean, it's be honest, it's either him or Vincent Kompany or Eric Ten Hag. It's going to be one of those three. Somebody else. If it's somebody else, then I'll take that bet any day of the week. But I don't see how it wouldn't be one of those three.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Nottingham Forest, who recently got a new manager in Nuno Espirito Santo. Forest, they lost 3-2 to Bournemouth at home, where they fired Steve Cooper and hired Nuno. They won 3-1 away at Newcastle.
Massive
Good old manager
result.
bounce. And then they won 2-1 at home to Manchester United.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Elanga, $15 million. That's all they paid for him. Looking like a steal. Nuno getting that new manager bounce. I'll be interested to see how they start playing come February when that new manager bounce is over. But they needed the 6 points massively. They got it, jumped up the table. I mean, otherwise they'd be in the relegation zone right now.
Yeah, I love their attacking kind of midfield of Morgan Gibbs White, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and Anthony Elanga.
Yeah, and they look like they're clicking as well. And you get Awani in there when he gets healthy. It's going to be fun
Yeah.
to watch.
Currently got Chris Wood, who scored a hat trick against Newcastle, his old club. Poor guy didn't even
revenge
celebrate
season
either.
is upon us, apparently.
Poor guy wasn't even able to celebrate against his old club. He kept it pretty relaxed for his celebrations. All right, well, let's move on to another club that did terrible this festive season. That's Everton, man. They lost the EFL Cup quarterfinal to Fulham, lost 2-1 to Spurs at home, lost 3-1 to City at home, and lost 3-0 away to Wolves.
Yeah. So much for them playing like a team that should be middle of the table instead of the bottom of the table. These results definitely solidify the fact that they're down there, even though it is a 10-point deduction, the reason why they're down there. So, yeah, again, with Everton, you never know what you're going to get. I don't know what else to say, because sometimes they're really good and sometimes maybe shit.
That has been their case so far. I will say they're usually more good than shit, but this past month, couple weeks, I guess, has not been well.
Yeah, new year, turn the page, start all over.
Yeah,
Get back to where they were before.
These are the 3 losses they've had in a row in the Premier League. So we'll see if they can bounce back. Their next game is against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, and then they're at home to Villa.
Should be a cracker.
Should be. All right, let's move on to Luton, who won 1-0 away to Newcastle, won 3-2 at home to Sheffield United, and then lost 3-2 at home to Chelsea.
Yeah, man, Luton, I'll give you props. You said they're going to miss the drop, and with their performances at home of late and away at Newcastle, I can't see them not. The way Brentford's playing, the way that Forest was playing before getting Nuno, the way Everton's playing right now. Flip coin, man.
I told you, Luton at home at Kenilworth Road. That is where they can pick up points and potentially survive to make it another year. I mean, is that 1-0 win at Newcastle? Or was it at home to Newcastle?
It's away. Yeah.
So away at Newcastle. Is that the shock result of this festive period, man?
I would say so. Maybe either that or United beating Villa, the way both teams were playing coming into that match. But yeah, it has to be. Especially at St. James's Park, where Luton's record away from home has been terrible and Newcastle's record at home has been amazing. So, yeah, I definitely in there with a shout.
And then even that Chelsea game, Chelsea went up, but man, Luton had chances. They had some goals taken back to offsides.
And you go all the way back to the Arsenal game. They pushed Arsenal to the brink.
They pushed Man City,
Liverpool, and Man City all to the brink, and Villa as well. So we're definitely going to see them fight for their lives in the Premier League, and I'm hoping that they'll stay up because of it.
I am too, man. I want that Cinderella story to keep on going. Well, let's move on to Burnley, man. They won 2-0.
What, they won a game?
They won a game. They lost 2-0 at home to Liverpool and then lost 3-2 away to Villa. But yes, so this festive period kind of saw all these relegation-threatened teams at least pick up a point.
Yeah.
They picked up something.
At least one. But, yeah, you got to think, watching these teams play, Burnley and Sheffield United have to be going down. Luton, they've been unlucky. They should stay up, I would think. But
so currently Luton is 4 points above Burnley, but they have a game in hand. And with that game in hand, they could potentially jump above Everton if they win it.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they play Burnley in their next Premier League match at home.
Do they? That will be. They do. Yes, January 15th.
Yeah,
it is away though.
It's at Burnley.
Turf Moor.
Yeah,
it's at Turf Moor. Yeah.
So
So that will be a big 6-pointer, as you like to call them.
yeah, I mean, especially with points being that scarce at the bottom of the table, Burnley win, they put themselves firmly, towards getting out of the relegation zone. If they lose, they probably will doom themselves.
Even if they win, man, I still don't think they have. I haven't seen anything from Burnley to suggest they're getting anywhere near out of the relegation zone, if I'm being honest with you.
I will 100% agree with that. Even the sheer fact that they beat Fulham is shocking to me. So
Yeah. Well, let's go to the team that's probably going down with them. Sheffield. They drew 1-1 to Villa. Lost 3-2 at home to Luton. Lost 2-0 away to City. That Luton game was a big one.
it was.
Couple own goals in the dying moments.
And
Saw Luton
two
take.
goals and 2 own goals in 4 minutes in the dying moments of that match. Yeah, I shot themselves in the foot, but it pretty much sums up how they've been playing this season.
Yeah, I mean, you never expected them to get anything against City, and then honestly, I didn't expect them to get anything against Villa, but credit to them, they did.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to get anything either.
So, those are all the results, man, from this festive period. Who was the best team for you during this festive period?
What do
Who's the
you do?
winners?
I was gonna say, how do you define best team? Is it the team that played the best? Is it the team that essentially got the best results out of the festive period? Because if it's that one, and the winners would be Liverpool for me,
Okay.
because they're up till that point their biggest title challengers in Arsenal. They drew with them, and then Arsenal dropped points in 2 successive games, so now they're 5 points up on them. Villa's dropping points. City still has a game in hand, which they could go within 2 points if they beat that Brentford with a game in hand, but they're not even playing to their full potential, and they're in first.
So I would have Liverpool as my second best team, I think, for this festive period. Because, like you said, they weren't in first come Christmas, and then here we are, the new year, and they are in first. They didn't win all of their games, so I think that's why I don't have them in first. For me, it's Wolves, man. They won all their games, flew up the table, and Gary O'Neill has them playing well.
Yeah, they're fun to watch right now. Wolves, in my opinion, had the best run, right? They're playing the best right now. I just think the overall scenario of the title race, because of everything that happened, that's why I have Liverpool as my winners of the festive period. But Wolves definitely, in my opinion, were the best team of the festive period. And then Chelsea's starting to win games, man.
Win games.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess
One
they did win 2, huh?
and scoring goals. So I'm not saying they're up there near the top. I'm just saying it might be a springboard for them the rest of the season.
I also gave an honorable mention to Luton, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Winning a couple
Definitely.
games
All right,
against
Cargo.
Sheffield.
Who was the worst team this festive season?
Easy. Newcastle. Lost to Forest, Luton, and Liverpool.
Well, I'll do you one better. Only because they lost one game more, and that's Everton. Because they lost 4 games, not 3. They lost to Fulham, Wolves,
AFL Cup
City, and
final,
Spurs.
yeah.
So, yeah, man, both teams were terrible during this festive season.
I would say Everton had harder teams and Spurs and City. Now, the Wolves game, okay, they should be competing with the Wolves a little bit closer than they did, but
And Fulham as well.
on PKs, again, that
Yeah.
one. Could have gone either way.
It could
But I
have.
got it. Newcastle lost to Forest and Luton, man.
Yeah.
And then, yes, Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean,
At home to Luton.
at home. At home. Both teams, especially with their form going into that, Newcastle has been on a tear of bad results lately. Everton were flying high coming into the festive period. It's the only reason I picked them over Newcastle. Either way, they both sucked. They need some serious help and a bunch of rest before the rest of the season begins.
Honorable mention to Arsenal, too, for being the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Was in first, now in fourth.
If you wanted my completely biased opinion, that would have been my answer. Because of how bad they're playing versus how well they've been playing before that. It's like they are a completely different team after that Liverpool result, where they probably didn't even deserve a draw. So
Not at all. But let me ask you, what was your favorite game during this festive period?
I mean, it had to be the same one as you,
That Villa,
that Villa
Manchester
United
United at
game.
Old
But I will
Trafford.
give, before we get into that, I will give a shout out to Brighton destroying Spurs.
That one was a good one
That
as well,
match was
yes.
fun to watch, but it has to be United and Villa. I mean, Villa were up 2-0 and cruising at halftime, and just to see United finally show up for once.
Højlund to score his first goal in the Premier League.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Garnacho tearing it up against Villa, coming back, scoring 3 goals, winning that match, which was massive 3 points for them, and a terrible result for Villa, especially going up 2-0. Yeah, I
Good,
mean that. I would have
good
said
old.
that was going to be the turning point for them until they lost to Forest on the weekend, but
Yeah, that was a fun game, man. You always have the Emmy Martinez antics that never disappoint, if I'm being
never,
honest.
never. Yeah. So it was fun, but what was your guys' favorite match to watch? I'm sure it's not very different from ours. Who was the worst team this festive season, and who were the winners of the festive fixtures? Let us know. Make sure to give us 5 stars on all your favorite social or podcasting platforms. Check us out on our social media on Facebook, on YouTube. Check out our Facebook group. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, notification bell, and following us on those platforms. Festive fixtures, man. Most wonderful time of the year.
That it is, man.
At least if you're a neutral.
If you're neutral.
But
On that,
till next time, my friends, as always, cheers.
cheers.